Thank you so much for watching Landumc Goes There. Please subscribe and hit the like button and the bell notification button. In the late 1950s and 60s, there was not a studio that was more powerful for television programming than Desilu. Everything from Make Room for Daddy to The Andy Griffith Show, My Three Sons, The Real McCoys, My Favorite Martian, and the one we're going to talk about today is The Dick Van Dyke Show. It was a sitcom that was created by Carl Reiner that initially aired on CBS from October of 1961 to June of 1966, with a total of 158 half-hour episodes that spanned those 5 seasons. The series starred Dick Van Dyke, Mary Tyler Moore, Rose Marie, Maury Amsterdam, and Larry Matthews. The 2 main settings for the show was the work atmosphere and the home life of Rob Petrie, played by Dick Van Dyke, who was the head writer of a comedy variety show produced in Manhattan. Viewers are given an inside look at how a television show was written and produced. Many of the scenes deal with Rob and his co-writers, Buddy Sorrell and Sally Rogers, along with Mel Cooley, who is a balding straight man and recipient of numerous insulting one-liners from Buddy. Other scenes focus on the home life of Rob and his wife Laura, played by Mary Tyler Moore, and their son Richie, played by Larry Matthews, as they live in suburban New Rochelle, New York. Many of the characters on the series were based on real people, as Carl Reiner created the show from his own memories and time spent as the head writer for Sid Caesar's vehicle, Your Show of Shows. And Dick Van Dyke's character is actually based on Reiner himself. Mary Tyler Moore's character developed a look that was influenced to some extent by the way that Jackie Kennedy looked at the time that she was First Lady of the United States. From 1950 to 1954, Carl Reiner cut his show business teeth, as I said, being a writer-performer on Your Show of Shows. His fellow writers on the show included the famous Mel Brooks and the not-so-famous Selma Diamond. When Caesar's show ended, Reiner wrote a pilot script and several episodes for a new TV sitcom, which closely mirrored his own life. He called it Head of the Family. The show highlighted the daily life of Rob Petrie. Maury Amsterdam was cast as the Mel Brooks-type joke writer, and Rose Marie portrayed the self-deprecating spinster in search of a husband, Selma Diamond. The pilot caught the attention of veteran producer Sheldon Leonard, who was famous for the Danny Thomas Show and the Andy Griffith Show. He liked the concept and the script, but he didn't care for Reiner's acting ability. He not so tactfully suggested that the lead character needed to be more mainstream American, in other words, less Jewish, to make the show more successful with a wider audience. The finalists for the lead role of Rob boiled down to Johnny Carson and Dick Van Dyke. Thanks to the name recognition generated by a successful run on Broadway in Bye Bye Birdie, Van Dyke landed the job. But of course, the runner-up didn't do so bad for himself. As a teen, Mary Tyler Moore had auditioned for a role as Danny Thomas's daughter on his self-titled sitcom. Despite her comedic prowess, Thomas rejected her, saying that no one would believe a girl with a little button nose like hers could be a daughter of his. A few years later, when Moore auditioned for the role of Laura, she not only caught Rob Reiner's attention, but she also jogged Danny Thomas's memory. While Van Dyke initially objected to her hiring, since she was 11 years younger than he was, their on-screen chemistry proved totally magical enough to banish any doubts that he had originally harbored. Despite her youth, Moore was no pushover. When initial scripts called for her to vacuum the living room in a dress and high heels like June Cleaver, the actress put her foot down. Mary was a young mother in real life, and she liked wearing comfortable clothing to perform her household chores. Thus was born Laura Petrie's trademark capri pants, which simultaneously gave network censors fits and set suburban housewives free from the pantyhose prison. The network absolutely pitched a fit at first about these capri pants, and they even said that she had to be in a skirt for a certain number of scenes each episode. To fight this, they filmed a scene where Laura walked into the kitchen in capri pants and came out a second later in a skirt. She had apparently ripped those pants off and magically ended up in a skirt. Finally, after this stunt, the network relented and said it was okay. Behind the scenes, all was not always well. Dick Van Dyke was a self-confessed people pleaser, whether he was on the set or meeting fans. I've met him a couple of times, and he really is a friendly guy. You would never know he was such a big star when you meet him on the street. He talks to you like a normal guy. But during this time of success in the 60s, he found solace with a good friend of his named Jack Daniels. Later on, Van Dyke would publicly announce that he was an alcoholic, and he checked himself into a facility for treatment. Meanwhile, co-star Mary Tyler Moore began to experience strange, unexplained medical complaints on the set. Those included dizziness, weight loss, and blurred vision. Presuming she was overworked, she ignored the warning signs, which she later found out were attributed to type 1 diabetes. Then during the series' 4th season, Rose Marie's beloved husband of 20 years passed away. She was so overcome with grief that she wanted to quit the show, but one of the directors coaxed her into staying to keep her mind occupied. Carl Reiner would often ask the cast and crew members about funny things that had happened to them. Then he would write whole episodes about these occurrences. As a result, a majority of the episodes over the course of the show's 5 seasons were based on actual events. Go back and watch this classic from the early 60s. You can't go wrong. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll continue to chase the classics.